Jesse, pretty big win up at US 36 Speedway. And, you've had bigger wins in your career, but I think what you had to go through, let's just step back in time a little bit before the race. You get a new rig, you get a new tractor for your trailer, and you're running down the road. And what happens with the new rig there?
We ran out of fuel. Is
that hard to say that? I mean,
not really. I mean, it didn't say empty. It was between a quarter and empty, and normally with our old rig, that would have got us a long way. So
yeah,
we didn't think we were even close, and then it died. And then, but whenever it's after below a quarter, you're pretty sure that's probably what it is. So we learned right there how far we can push it. So we definitely don't want to go below a quarter on it, but.
You rolled in late, too, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit late.
I mean, really late.
Definitely late. We barely made hot laps. Luckily, the track was a little bit wet, and they had to work it in a lot longer, so we barely made hot laps, and, it was definitely made for looked like it was going to be a long night.
For most people that don't know you, or do know you, I should say, really, is that you like to be the first guy at the track. So if you're the last guy there, that's really late for you, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. We usually try to get there so we can get set up early, and this week or Friday, definitely that wasn't the case. So
all right, now the most embarrassing part has to be where was the wing at?
Well, it's kind of hard to describe what happened there. We were pretty sure that it was going to get rained out. It looked like a definite chance of rain there, thunderstorms they were calling for, and all that, which we never got. And we loaded our dirt car upstairs, and we loaded our pavement car up, and between there somewhere we forgot to load the wings for the dirt car. So we got about to I-70, and I asked the guys, did we forget anything? And I knew what it was, and they said, no. I go, you sure about that? And I said, we forgot our top wing. Then it was like, oh, no, we ain't got time to go back. So I called in a favor to my buddy up from Lincoln, Nebraska, Mark Birch, and he let us borrow a good wing, a brand new wing. So it was pretty daring on that rough track to loan somebody a wing, but
no doubt.
No, he's a good guy, and I appreciate that. And then his car ended up running second, so his wings were one too.
Yeah, not too bad. Well, let's take a look at some of the video that we have from up there last Friday night, and we talked about that track being a little wet, a little bit rough, a little fast. Really, I mean, what I saw through the heat races and the Bs, that there was just kind of single file racing, but. You managed to work your way up through the field pretty good during the A-Main, though, didn't you?
Yeah, that track, I've raced there a lot with the 410s, and it's definitely always treacherous, rough, and heavy like that. And you just got to know how to make your car freer than everyone else's. And, a lot of guys are stuck in their ways, and they run the same setup every time. But, I'm willing to change. So we went with some things on the car that made the car a lot freer, and I could pretty much go anywhere on the racetrack that I wanted.
Yeah.
Kurt? So you weren't surprised by the track conditions on Friday night?
Definitely not. It's been like that a lot of times, and every time you go there, you usually expect something different. So, it's definitely not a dry track, that's for sure. He puts a lot of water on it, and it's high banked. And the thing I like it about the most is you can maneuver through traffic because it's so wide and so banked. And
did your car almost stall out right there? I mean, it shot out some like raw fuel out of the tailpipe. You must have been clear out of the gas. Had all four tires off the ground.
No, I was stayed in the gas. If you let out and then land, you're in bad problem. But that track's just so wide and fast, and a lot of fast tracks you can't pass on, but that track you can, because there's different ways you can go into the corner higher and come off low, or just maneuver. So I really like bank tracks. It just seems like you can maneuver a lot more on those.
You don't mind them rough, too?
No, that's because everybody else lets out, and you can just go that much harder.
Yeah, that's right.
I have never seen you celebrate that much more than you did Friday night. Was it due to all of the circumstances that you had to deal with that you were able to pull off a win after what happened during that day?
Yeah, I don't know if I was celebrating because I was happy to win or celebrating because I won and I didn't think I was going to get a butt chewing afterwards from the car owner. So,
yeah.
But no, it was all good, and the only thing you can fix problems with is a win. So that's what I knew I had to get.
Yeah, well, that solves everything. All the problems of forgetting the wing, and, I'm sure the car owner was a little upset about it.
Probably a little embarrassed, and definitely made him not happy. So
yeah, well, anyway, it all came out good for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that pass of Brown going down the front straightaway 3 wide. I said it on Saturday morning on Sports Radio 810 WHB's Track Talk that Kirk and I do here in Kansas City, that you never see Jesse Hockett race or run any harder, get more elbows up than when that purple car's out there in the lead. And part of it had to be that because he had a pretty good lead on everybody, and it looked like he might pull off the win. He's doing a pretty good job. but you were able to run him down. Talk about that pass on the front straightaway. You guys split a lapper.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. We got somewhat of a rivalry. We're both young, and we both race around here a lot, and we both seem to do pretty good. So definitely when someone like that's ahead of you, you don't want to do anything but beat them. So, when I see him up there, you got to push a little bit harder, and that was pretty much my style of track. So I knew I'd be in good shape, and then that 3-wide pass, so just as soon as you hesitate, he'd just gain a little bit more on you. So as soon as he hesitated, I just took it over.
All right, so I know he come over and talked to you after the race, though, and you guys haven't been talking much lately. So what did he say afterwards?
Oh, he just congratulated me, and he said, that's your style of track, and he said after you passed me, he said I was just going to ride right there and watch the show. He said you were fast, so I was like, thanks.
Is it your attitude that you take what's given to you, be positive about whatever track conditions there are? I mean, that's really the right approach to take as a driver, isn't it? You're dealt a hand, you got to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd like to say that I'm like that, but if it's just dry and dusty, I hate it. I'm just like everybody else complaining, but a lot of guys like that, and a lot of guys don't. I mean, I'm one of those guys. I like it rough and heavy, or I like it slick but 2 grooves. If it's 1 groove right around the inside of the racetrack, I just cannot stand it. It just doesn't seem to me like the promoter's done their job, and I hate that. So but when it's like heavy, it seems like you can at least move a couple grooves, and I don't know. I just hate dry slick tracks that are 1 lane, but anything other than that, you won't find me complaining too much.
I was going to say, really, the only dry slick track that you really hate is a rubber down track where there's only 1 rubber down groove. If you get a couple rubber down grooves where you can move around a little bit, or if it's just that happy medium between slick and just a little tacky fast, that's the ultimate right there.
Yeah, I probably should have reworded that. When it's rubber down like that, all you're doing is just using up tires, and 1 lane is just not good. So. But when it's slick, if you can get 2 grooves working, it's still a good time.
I mean, that's the great debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
What guys like, do you want it slicked off? Do you want it tacky fast? Do you want it heavy? I guess everybody wants multiple grooves. Whatever it takes to get multiple grooves, that's what everybody wants. It's not really about a preference. It's just having more than 1 groove.
Yeah, definitely. Just being able to pass, because that's what the fans are there to watch, passing. And if you can't pass, then they're not getting their money's worth.
And it is tough to get that perfect racetrack. Weather conditions were not ideal last week for him to get the sheep's foot out there and really get that thing smoothed out. So in defense of the track owner, Mike Franks, he had his work cut out for him. And it was supposed to rain that day, and he thought it was going to rain for sure that afternoon, and somehow it split up, and he was afraid that if he opened up the racetrack, he'd really have himself in real trouble with that event coming up next weekend.
Yeah, he really works hard at it, and I mean, he's out there Thursday, starts watering on Thursday, and he's one of the guys that works pretty hard at it, and I like that type of track. I mean, not quite that rough, that was a little overkill, but that's just a lot to do with the rain, so you can't do anything about that. But I mean, he definitely gets a lot of moisture in there, and it definitely tests your motor. And my uncle Tim Rowden builds our motor, so it definitely showed that we got what it takes inside the hood.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Now, you headed on out the road for Kalamazoo, Michigan, right after that run. You ran an event out there on pavement the next night. That was a long trip to get out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And coming off a big win like that, it definitely makes for a lot easier traveling. Everybody's pumped up, and you're 5 hours down the road before you quit talking about it. So it's definitely excites everyone and makes the traveling a lot easier.
You don't want to talk about that pavement race, though?
Not too much.
Not too much.
We struggled a little bit on the setup there and came home 14th. So,
but you got another win down at Double X on Sunday, so
not
too bad.
Yep,
not a bad weekend for you.
Good beginning to the weekend, a good end.
Is that
just
number
in the
13?
Win number 13.
Yeah,
so
that's what I thought.
Hopefully we can get another one this weekend or 2.
All right, okay. Well, listen, we've got a lot to talk about in the show, Kirk, and we've got a lot of guests, but and for a couple minutes here, let's talk. This is a pretty special weekend coming up at Lake Ozark Speedway. National Tour coming in, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's the Daniel McMillan Memorial, and I was really close. Daniel and I were inseparable. We were together right from the start whenever we were growing up, all the way through racing and even through football and everything else. We were right there together, and we were pretty much like brothers. So in his memory, the year right after he had passed, I put a race together there. The first one was at Double X Speedway in California, and it was a pretty good success, and we had a lot of great cars and good drivers, and it's just basically a race to just remember him and have a good time. I mean, that's what he was about. He was 100% about having a good time, no matter how tough the times were or how good they were. He just liked to have fun. So we're having that race in his memory, and it's just an opportunity for everybody to get together and have a good time. And he was buddies with a lot of the drivers, so I mean, a lot of the drivers that will be there.
Never heard a bad word about him. Not one person I've ever heard say, "Oh, that guy was a jerk," and everybody said he was a great guy.
Yeah, and I mean, he could have a spout with another team there one week, and the next week they'll be drinking a beer together after the races. So, yeah, you couldn't help but like him. He was just one of those types of people, and that's why there's such a gathering whenever we have this race. And it's packed the stands 2 years in a row, and we're looking for that again this year.
I know Scotty Cook, who's going to join us here in a little bit, talk about this weekend's race. He always talks about the three of you running up and down the road together, running races. He said that was one of the greatest times in his life.
Yeah, we knew how to have a good time, and Daniel, he could liven up any moment. No matter how tough the times were, or blowing motors, torn up race cars, it didn't matter. He was having a good time, and he'd just liven the moment anytime he was in the presence.
And his influence, no doubt, is with you every time you strap into the race car.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was there through all the years of, the tough years whenever we didn't have a lot to work with, and we were trying to come up and, putting everything into it. And whenever we had nothing, we'd make something out of it. And he, helped me get up there and, to now where we got pretty good equipment and everything behind us. But, he was there whenever it was just blood, guts, and glory. So
yeah. All right, well, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Scotty Cook's going to join us, I believe, about 7:45. Kirk, who else we got on this week?